Guys, we're getting some feedback on the live chat, so I can follow along with that from here.
We are live right now, so everybody can hear us, I guess.
We're getting some feedback
on the
live chat, so I can follow along with that.
Okay, so if a bit latency. We are live right now. So hi guys, can you hear us? How the sound is good.
We're getting some feedback
our face is live
on the live chat, so I can
we are
follow
ready.
along with that.
Okay, sorry for the latency. We are live right
We're
now.
getting some
So hi
feedback
guys,
on the live chat, so I can follow. We're getting some feedback
our face is live
on the live chat, so I
we
can
are
follow
ready.
Okay.
Yeah, we are good. We are live. We are fine.
Okay. I think first we'll introduce Calvario, who people have seen in the Slack chat, I'm sure, has been working with MDROS on a lot of stuff, actually, including the new Varium wallet and some minor bug fixing of it after its release, doing a lot of code checking and merging on the GitHub, and building a custom Explorer, which is really nice. Actually, if you guys get a chance, play with the charts on the Explorer for Varium, and he's making one for Vericoin too, but the one for Varium is live, and it's awesome, actually. Really, really great. Better than Chains, which Chains was already my favorite Explorer, but this is actually better, which is really neat.
A lot of cool dashboards and graphs. I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Well, it's sad because it was a good platform back in that time, because it was more or less the first one Explorer for all the coins, but it looked like that it stopped during the time and we didn't got any news or any new features since then. So yeah, it's kind of sad.
And also full customizability is awesome.
Or even the graphs. Like, I think the hash, well, I would guess that's something that will be more normal for an Explorer to have. So I was kind of sad to don't have this kind of information. Yeah. So just to explain a bit, I was born in Switzerland. I moved to Portugal 3 years ago. I worked in a lot of companies, from banks to healthcare and now on hospitality. I started on Varium, I think it was 4 years ago, when it was during the big boom. And like MDROS, back in that time, I created an application for the iPhone. It was to track your mining account and see directly how it's going with your miners. After I moved a bit, because I was more checking other coins and, of course, working more to change it to another job and some other stuff like that. So I think it was 3 or 4 months ago, I saw a news on Delta saying, Varium news, and I saw MDROS, and I was like, oh, this is still a thing. And I was like, oh, great. I will go to the Slack. And because back in that time, I was like, I kind of forgot about Varium and Vericoin. So I was back, and I was really glad and happy to see everyone again. And it was like, feels good to be back, like back home. And it was really a funny thing, in fact, yeah. So, and cryptocurrencies, I mined a lot. 5 or maybe 7 years ago, I started with Litecoin, when it was still the little Bitcoin and still mineable. And after I forgot a bit, I was back more in cryptocurrencies 3 or 4 years ago, and it was the big reason was Varium, because of the mining, because it was the only one to do CPU mining only. So it was why I got back on cryptocurrency, started to do some trading, and of course start to do some developments. And it's why 4 months ago, when I started again to talk with everyone, I was like kind of happy to start something new, a new application that could be useful for everyone. So it's why the Explorer was a good idea, because you still have a lot of information that are not available, like as I said, the hash rate, or even some graph related with the circulations, how many coins and stuff like that, or even the blockchain size, something that's not really interesting, but in fact, it handles some information inside. So it was really interesting.
And why don't we share where people can see this now. I mean, one thought and before you answer, I think, I believe it's on a subdomain, but we might need to make it a little bit more prominent on the main website if it's not.
Yeah, we should.
So, quick, easy link to. But right now, where can people see it if they want to take a look at it?
The reason why we didn't share it too much yet is because all the Vericoin and the Verium blockchain was syncing, and the server was like taking a huge charge on it during the sync, and we wanted to avoid to have a huge load plus user accessing to it and having a bad user experience because it would have been a bit more slow. So we prefer to take it slowly, to deploy it, to let it sync, and the sync of Vericoin finished like 2 days ago, if I remember. And now we are totally ready to publish it, and to share it with everybody. That's also part of the Very Live.
Great.
And currently, all the pools are already connected to the new explorers. So when you are working on a pool and you click on a block number, it will go directly on the new explorer. The next step will be to update CoinMarketCap at CoinGecko to have the new link. But yeah, of course, we will make it more available and do more marketing about it. Because of course, it's still an alpha release. It's not a beta. It's really alpha. I still have a lot of work to do, but in terms of features, I'm almost there. I still want to add some features that I think are really interesting, like the mempool, to see the transactions that are not proceeds already, that are not in a block, so they are waiting to be proceed, and other features like backteam and stuff like that. But Vericoin is the one that will be more difficult because it's still on the old Bitcoin code, so we don't have all the features available, like the orphans. My big trouble currently on the Vericoin Explorer is that I don't know when a block is an orphan. So it's why we don't make a lot of marketing about the Vericoin Explorer, because we need to have the new version released before it will be fully available and working great.
That makes sense.
Would it make sense just to wait then? And I mean, I guess we can get into that part of the conversation today too, in terms of, what kind of time frame are we maybe looking at with Vericoin being updated, and if it's relatively, not too far in the distance, maybe it's worth waiting to update the Explorer until we get that, updated.
The idea is to have some feedback too, because I think more users testing the application and make sure that the Explorer is working as expected, it helps a lot to find bugs. And of course, it will bring on the community some ideas of improvements. Like 2 days ago or 1 day ago, someone asked for the profitability of the coin, how many dollars they can earn from Verium, or how many Veriums they can mine or stuff like that. So I already created a tool for that. So they can put their hash and they will be able to know when they will have a block, more or less, and what's the profit. So it's why it's cool.
Yeah, and you could have a similar thing for Vericoin too. And the Vericoin based on the interest rate and so on. And the Vericoin Explorer then maybe is like pre-alpha, I would say. Like you kind of figure out how to incorporate the interest rate stuff. We can also when mostly it's Mdaras at this point, when he's porting the Vericoin protocol into the new Bitcoin core, we can add some RPC commands or whatever kind of commands you want to pull interest rate data as well, which might be easier to use on Explorer than the way it currently is, which isn't that suitable for an Explorer.
Yeah, we are working a lot together on these kind of points.
Okay.
To move both of the application forward. I mean, Vericoin wallet for sure, and we are making sure that when we release the Vericoin wallet, the Explorer will be like nearly ready and to run and to have all the features.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Well, I mean, the feedback overall with the Verium release has been really positive from what I've seen. So congratulations. And I think, I know I know P. Noster came back in and gave a nice little tip to both of you for the hard work, and I think that was good to see as someone that's been like known about this project since 2014 to see Patrick pop in and see that he still has interest in seeing the health of this project. And again, congrats to both of you because you've done a great job and I know you all do a ton of hard work lately, especially. So just want to personally say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Thanks.
so about the Verium wallet, so we got some information that there is a few issues that we are working actually with the users that experience issue, like someone have a problem with Windows with Windows. Yeah, he was not able to do mining correctly. Sometimes the wallet crash. So we are trying to fix all those issues aside of working on Vericoin at the same time to be sure.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking into a Mac issue as well, a couple Mac issues.
yeah, exactly. And something that people need to understand is if we don't have issue in the Verium wallet, we'll probably don't have any issue in the Vericoin wallet because when we are constructing the Vericoin wallet around the code base of the Verium wallet. So that means that everything we did and we are still doing on Verium will be in the Vericoin wallet. The user interface, the bug fix, all of that, the optimization, all of that will be part of the release of the Vericoin, and it will make it easier because we have way less work to do since we already did most of the work on the Verium wallet.
Yeah, and like one thing that's kind of cool, which I never mentioned to you, Andras, which would be good to mention, but also kind of interesting to know, is that we can for the hash, the code that actually calculates the script hashes for Vericoin, we can use exactly the same code, and we just change the n. Like just the number of like times that it basically has to loop to generate the hash. So it's things like that that's pretty cool. Like the coins are they're sort of like born from one another. So first I forked Verium from the Vericoin code base, and now Andras is basically forking the new Verium code base on Bitcoin Core to add Vericoin in. So it's two birds, one stone, which is awesome. So there's overhead for having two coins, but we try to minimize it as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that I want to say also is some people asked us why we choose to start on Verium and not Vericoin. Basically, I mean, we had to do a choice, and it was Verium or Vericoin. And since we are talking about maybe not doing the halving of Verium, and we choose to start with Verium, and that's the only reason why we choose Verium. I mean, I like and I'm stacking Vericoin every day also, and I will stay on Vericoin also. But yeah, so we are working on both coin.
I think it was the most efficient choice because not too many people know the details, but proof of stake, actually Vericoin, but most proof of stakes also have proof of work already built into them, and then they have proof of stake as well. So they and Vericoin had a short proof of work period as well. So essentially, Vericoin is similar to Bitcoin, but with the addition of our protocol for proof of stake. Whereas Verium is, very similar to Bitcoin with the addition of our variable block time and our hashing algorithm, and some related things to that. So it was the most efficient path, I think, for sure, because it's easier to go from Bitcoin to Verium, and then after all that's kind of worked out, we can then handle proof of stake, sort of like bringing the proof of stake protocol into the new code base with just those variables. Apparently,
I think there's another, and I don't think this was intentional, but if you look at our community and you look at the path of people getting involved, and it's normally through Varium, right? And so you look at how many members we have in the Varium mining channel on Slack, it's close to 3,200, and it's not. And there's a lot of activity. Like, oh, I don't actively mine Varium. I did at one point, and I had some servers that my server admin set up for me, and I was doing it. It's just the level of like technical knowledge in that channel is, to me, far superior than like anything else. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, to me, Varium is like almost the lifeblood of our development, our path. Like, as people come into the project, it's typically, I think, through Varium. And so, not to say one's more important than the other. It's just there's a sense of, I think, stronger community aspect within Varium. You have all these conversations about, what hardware to use, and I just think it's.
And MDROS is a pool operator and things like this. So, like, actually, this is one of the things that I came to the conclusion of shortly after a year or so into releasing Vericoin. Is, on the one hand, proof of stake is amazing because you can have a blockchain that basically runs for almost like zero costs. I mean, there's a little bit of cost. You have to have some coins to participate in the consensus, which there's a cost in that, but it's like a passive cost if you want to be invested anyway. And then like Varium, you could be invested in that, and if you want to be invested in Vericoin, it's like a passive cost. So there's a passive cost to participating in the consensus, and then there's a minor technical and CPU, a little bit of memory cost to having a computer running often enough to get a decent stake. So it's a little inconvenient, but it's nothing like mining. So on the one hand, it's really great in that it can be costless nearly, and in that sense, I think it can be a system where the fees never really have to go up to compensate for the costs. Yet there isn't this. Always my dog when I do this. Yet there isn't this, like Kevin was saying, this dynamic. It's sort of like if you're running a proof of stake node, you have passive income basically, right? And passive income, by definition, means you don't really have to do anything, right. And that's great. But it also doesn't like activate the community in the same way proof of work does via hardware development, pool operation, optimizing the hashing algorithms and all these things. So I did see shortly after we launched proof of stake that there was this missing community activity growth component to a pure proof of stake system. And that's kind of when I started, I guess, thinking about moving into a paired system that could leverage all the pros and cons of both.
In fact, it makes sense because when you want to do Vericoin staking, you only download the wallet, you click on one button and it's done.
Yeah.
So why you will join a community and start to talk when you have nothing to say, we have nothing to do or ask? It's too easy. It's sad to say and it's fun, but it's too easy. So why joining? Like, I put it working and I go to my life. I have no reasons to talk.
And people come in troubleshooting basically is pretty much.
But that's the beauty of this project too, because then you have people that want to be involved in cryptocurrency without thinking about all the technicalities of what's involved with mining. And so like the option, like someone like me, I've got all these other things. If I have the choice and I want to be involved in this project and I want to be contributing from the sense of like being involved in the network, staking makes more sense to me. I love seeing the technical chats and all the sharing of all that brain energy that you all have. That's good. And I think that's needed because that development chatter. So people come in for barium and then they learn, and we'll get into binary chain again, because I always think it's worth mentioning, and that's what makes our project unique. And, I want to touch on the white paper, but
Yeah.
you can get involved from the barium
I like
side.
how your camera sometimes zooms in while you're talking.
It's something I set, and I try to turn it off beforehand, and I can't turn it. I don't know how to turn it off now.
Pretty cool. It's like
I've been getting feedback about that all week. People say it's like when I ring like this dramatic moment, it zooms in on me. But no, I do think that I'd be curious to find out, all the people that are mining barium, actively mining, how many of them also own Vericoin as well.
Mhm.
And so you learn about one from the other, and whether or not you're actively mining barium, if you came in through Vericoin, you understand the value of barium. And I really think that dynamic of this project makes it truly unique and special.
Yeah, and actually this whole topic will be part of the white paper, because it's an important economic component of it, I think. But basically, the costs of proof of work they prevent the system from being almost costless, right? Because the miners have to earn revenue to compensate for their costs. But the costs also bring in a value that's relative to the participation in the network, which proof of stake in effect should, based on demand, but you really have to have that will really more so come into play when the coin is saturated across the industrialized marketplace, I would say. But in the early stages, there's a direct miner cost. So on the one hand, you don't want costs, right? You want a free kind of nearly free, easy financial system that's not limited across the world. But on the other hand, you do kind of want some costs that drive value, that kind of bootstrap value into the ecosystem before you reach the demand value point. So I think there's tons of reasons why you need, for a really good crypto economy, you actually need both.
So, and on that topic, Doug, I mean, you mentioned this will be incorporated into the white paper. Have you had any progress, or have you had it? I know last Very Live we had, which was 2 months ago, we talked about if anyone wanted to contribute, to maybe help with regards with the white paper. So just following up on that conversation, see where you've
I'm going to share a draft, like a rough early draft of the binary chain white paper within a week. And I set up the research. I set up a research channel, it's a channel called Research, where we kind of dig into the more sort of R&D stuff, including writing white papers. Anyone can join it, and anyone can participate in the process. So yeah, I'm hoping to have a draft that I think has, at least the beginning sort of introductory component and some of the meat and the potatoes for every section I think is necessary. And then we can flesh it out, get comments from the community, see what they think should be added, or maybe ways to make it more concise in some areas, and so on and so forth. And then we can collaboratively write and build on it until we're happy with it. And like I said, I think we should submit it to academic journals. There's some that do blockchain. I mean, computer science journals will take blockchain papers, but also there's some blockchain focused journals. So we can figure out, once we figure out the final form of the paper and what the sort of pitch is that we're making primarily via the abstract, essentially, you can decide what journal might be the best. But it would be nice to have a proper peer-reviewed paper that goes into all the details, and it'll be actually the first formal description of Varium's protocol as well, the script squared and the variable block time, because we never actually wrote a paper on that. So we're gonna introduce the technical details of Varium, kind of reference the technical details of Vericoin via the post paper, mention it and reference it, and then go into the interaction of the two chains and what can be done in an ecosystem, as we were talking about, between the two chains, in particular, like decentralized applications that use on and off chain data storage.
Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing that and getting that out there. I think that's going to be a big moment for us.
This is a really good time, I think, to get it out there too. This is like a really good time.
And something that I will have to do is sync the channel that you did on Slack with Discord, so like that the user on Discord can also participate. Because right now the channel is only for Slack user.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it'll be quick.
Yeah,
Tonight.
I'm in. Wait, no, I actually am not in Discord. I'm in Telegram. But yeah, okay, good point.
But because of that, I was thinking, and it's why I sent you some times ago, that one day I will try to take time and redo all the Slack and Discord and Telegram channels. So the idea will be that, and of course it will be maybe more annoying on Telegram, but we can try to figure out with a bot to improve that. But to have all the channels on all the platforms.
Yeah.
And maybe we will see, because Slack's going on, it's always going worse as we have more limitations with time, and it's going to be more harder to work on Slack and having new features or maybe bots. We don't know if maybe one day they will cut the bots for free accounts.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is really that, for example, for the moment on Telegram, all the users on Telegram are not able to participate on the Varium mining channel. They only have the general and the developers. And for example, the developers is not well known from the community on Telegram itself. So when I have time, I will try to centralize everything and make everything maybe easier to work, and having less channels and maybe having more channels dedicated to community work, to involve more the community, like having, for example, community managers, maybe country or language managers, so for example, French community, English community, etc. And involve more persons that maybe want to do some articles, marketing, or even more working on the blockchain itself.
I do. You kind of touched on it a little bit. I do feel like on Slack we might have. I'm zooming in again. We might have
zooming in on your unbuttoned shirt.
Yeah, but I think we might have probably a little too many like a lot of channels that are dead. There's not a lot of activity on them.
There is.
So I think we probably could consolidate some of these channels, or think about it maybe. Just throwing that out there. It's nothing we got to debate about.
Yeah, you could definitely do cleanup. Yeah, for sure.
We already start about the cleanup with the infrastructure. We start to migrate a lot of tools to new servers for cost reason, for performance. I mean, we paid less, we have faster server. What can we ask more than that? And we like that we're also able to have more stuff on the infrastructure, like the block explorer for Varium and Vericoin. And we will work on the forum. We'll work on multiple tools to communicate better together. It will take time because I mean, most of the migration is done now, and for the moment we are trying to more focus on the Vericoin wallet, which is kind of the priority. So we'll put that a bit in standby because it's less emergency to migrate stuff. But little by little, I think we'll start to move the forum to maybe refresh a bit the wiki, because a lot of data maybe a bit expire on it. And try to involve more the community. I already start to ask some people. I saw some positive response about helping to manage the forum, to write the documentation, and we'll keep pushing forward in order to include more the community. I mean, we are all part of a community. Some people want to do more, they don't know how. The goal is to give all the tools for them to be able to help if they want to help.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are pushing forward on that.
And if the crypto market keeps going up like this, well, Bitcoin in particular right now, if Bitcoin keeps going up, then we're going to get suddenly like this flood of new community members, and it would be nice to be able to direct them in more effective ways than we did last time. I think already it's going to be much better than the last bull market because we have a lot more infrastructure in place. But that's one of the challenges. Is it's kind of like at the bottom of the bear market, there's like a small number of people that do a lot of really good work, and then in the bull market phase of crypto, there's like tons of people that want to do anything, almost anything, and so much so that there's not enough people to guide them to do something and what to do and what needs to be done. And we kind of lack the hierarchy, at least last time. Everything actually is much better than the last time, in terms of our community, in terms of our infrastructure, in terms of how many people are doing what and how and when, and so on. So I think no matter, even if we did nothing to prepare, we would be much better off. But I think it's something to work on. Is actually some of the first community members that want to participate their goal could be figure out how to bring new people in to some aspect of the project. Like, they can be the community manager type thing.
And like regards to like the wiki and the forum, just from my experience, there's a lot of times people will say, yeah, we need this. And then there's one person that says, okay, I'm going to head this up and I'm going to do it. And that's always risky, because if that one person says, okay, I'm going to set this up and do it, and then they disappear or they leave, then it just becomes like this. So what I would say is, as we start any new initiative like that, it'd be really good to have a team of 3, 4, 5 people that are committing to be involved in it. So if one leaves, it doesn't throw the whole thing like off the rails and just it sits there. And it's like there are things that we developed, someone did 2-3 years ago, and it's now just there and we forget about it to some extent.
Yeah, or we don't even have access to it in
right.
some cases.
Or share the loads.
What?
Because the workload is big sometimes, so sharing the load is good too for the person leaving. Because sometimes it's too much work.
Yeah,
the other thing, we don't want people burning out either, which happens. You get burned out because you're doing all this work as a volunteer. You're not getting paid anything, right? So you're doing it out of passion, and the last thing you want is for people to complain and bitch that it's not exactly the way they wanted it. And that's something like, why am I wasting my time doing all this stuff? I get no appreciation. I'm not saying that personally. I'm just saying I know of people that, I've never felt that because I've always put in what I can. I've never overpromised or anything. But you're right. It's a matter of not taking on too much load for one person. But more than that is, if it's a decentralized project, we have to have multiple hands on deck so that if one person leaves, gets sick, whatever the case may be, it still carries on. And then one other thing, if we have this inflow again, which I expect as well, it'd be good to try to learn as early as possible, what are people looking for? And are they able to find it? So what are the common questions when people come into the project new? Aside from when Binance, when Moon, when whatever, the common question of the true legit questions that you see where people are saying, hey, why, how many transactions per second, or how is this different than this coin? And those questions collectively, if we listen, we make sure that those current day topics or concerns are addressed in a manner that's easy to find. It doesn't mean it has to be, the value proposition on the homepage, but it needs to be where I can click a button, go to a form, and I can quickly find the answers to my questions. Because that's what's going to really drive, I think, people to come in and stay. And when they can learn about the project in relatively short time without it being too complicated, without hunting through, 20 different forms or this wiki, or go to, like, if it's easy to access the information and the things that are most people are concerned with, that's what will, I think, create the growth that we want to see.
And another fact that I agree with you is that currently we have too many places where we have information that are maybe duplicate or not updated. And
Exactly.
this is really something that I want to put off, because this is complicated for someone that arrived. For example, if you start on Reddit, you got some old information on the Reddit sub, and it's wrong. And if you go on the website, and we still have a lot of information that is not updated on the website, that's is not reflecting the reality of the current situation. And it's why it will be great on the future to have a central place where everyone knows that if they search for something, it will be there. And for example, the bots, because on Slack, for example, someone is asking, where are the pools? What are the pools names or stuff like that? It will be a bot command, but it's a bot command on Slack. It's a bot command on Discord. And after on Telegram, we don't have it. And yeah, it's just annoying for someone that just wants a simple information, because it will be split everywhere and not updated.
I agree. And the very first thing I did when I got involved with this project was exactly that. I talked to Doug and Patrick and members of the community and try to just feel my way around it. And then before I got too much information, I went in on my own as a user and looked on the web, looked at different things. And my first impression was, man, there's stuff everywhere. I don't know what's official. I don't know what's accurate. I don't know what's, I saw conflicting information. I saw videos made by people. And again, this is going to happen on a decentralized project. You can't control, like, if someone wants to make a YouTube about Vericoin and they have some like really shoddy logo, they're like, wait, or they're using some font, like, well, that's not our font. You can't control that per se. But what I did realize was there should still be a again, decentralized project, but there should be a place that I can go to, one true source of information. And I know that if it's there, it's most likely valid and accurate and up to date. And it's the community that needs to police that and make sure, like Wikipedia, it's the community that needs to make sure and stay on top of that one area. But having things in 25 different places is impossible. That's why it's so important. And that was the first thing I did. I made a resources section on the website. Unfortunately, it never really caught on because I built the infrastructure for it on like web-based, but I knew there's no way I was going to be able to fill that area with the knowledge base, because I didn't have it. I was coming into this project fresh. So I was hoping the community would kind of populate it. And it really didn't ever happen. But I think you are on the same wavelength in terms of a new user can come in and go, all right, this is really where I can learn the knowledge base of the project. And I'm pretty confident it's updated. And if it's not updated, that's on the whole community. It's not on one person that's supposed to keep it up to date.
And for example, I got a lot of troubles when I started to create it for the Explorer Vericoin implementation. I was lost because I didn't know in the beginning that Vericoin was a proof of work. So when I started doing the sync on the first block, I was, what's that? Doesn't make sense. It's a proof of stake. Why have proof of work? And after I found out some information, and again, when you try to understand what's behind proof of stake, if you are not aware what's proof of stake and you are someone that's always got the habit of proof of work, you are lost because you don't understand. And currently, a lot of proof of stake algorithms are with masternodes. So it's really different from proof of stake time that we have. That's more or less the other proof of stake that exists, but that got more or less forgotten by a lot of people because masternodes is more fun because, yeah,
Yeah.
And it's why really a wiki will help a lot for the persons to understand and help on the search of Google, for example, because right now, if you search on Google, CPU mining, back 3 years ago, Ethereum was on the top. Right now, if you search CPU mining, well, Ethereum maybe will appear on the second page, when we are in fact still the only coin that is really that created the CPU mining only.
Okay, that's good to know. So you did that, and you did see we were ranked number 1 in the past, but now we've fallen to page 2. So okay. So I mean, that what you said though. So is the idea that the wiki will be our? I mean, again, I don't think it's practical to think that everything's going to be updated in all these different channels. We need to have one part that we can say priority. The information has to be updated and accurate here, and that can be, what's said on Reddit, what's said on forums, what that, yeah, we can try to maintain that. But if we have one area where we can say this is our main resource section, our main knowledge base, that I think makes sense. And if it's the wiki, that's great. I mean,
I think
whatever's
it will be
easiest for
easier.
the community, it's really whatever's easiest for the community to keep updated on their own.
Actually, yeah, when we think of every tools we are trying to build right now, we are trying always to make sure multiple things. First, that it can be shared easily with multiple users to allow to have the community participating, and also that it can handle most of the case. Like, we want to have a wiki, but we want to have a wiki where it's easy to find information, where it's easy to update. Because if it's a pain to update an information, nobody will do it, clearly. So we are trying to find the best choice for easy management and stuff like that. But every time we are thinking of tools, we are doing our best to find these. Yeah, just.
What I'm thinking, one option would be to have a document on the Vereconomy GitHub that we give a lot of commit approval to the community for. And that's one possible solution. Because, I mean, in terms of the code, we're basically moving everything there. And it kind of makes sense to possibly have the formal documentation there as well. And then GitHub handles, I mean, you can just use the GUI web browser GitHub and edit a document, and add to it. And you get commits, and people can kind of participate in the crypto process in a more formal way, not just like, oh, that was created by some random guy who we'll never see again. We don't really know who he is or whatever. But on GitHub, there's a user, they've done commits, even if it's on a document. It's a way to introduce people into doing commits as well. Maybe we should consider having
that's one of the ideas that we think of, and that we are still thinking of, is like maybe create a documentation platform that is using Markdown, but in the GitHub repository.
Yeah, like a README, but like more exhaustive. Yeah.
And everything also in GitHub, so everybody can share and do a commit and update it with multiple approval.
Yeah, I think that would be good. It might be the way to do it, and then that can kind of be monitored. People can monitor that who don't know how to do development but know about the project. They can kind of monitor that and keep it up to date and things like that.
I like that idea.
So one of the subjects that I would like to talk about really quickly, it's the implementation of the VIP1 in Ethereum. So VIP1 was the change of the fee. It was a change. So it's Ethereum implementation proposal, if I remember. And so it was put in, enabled at the block 520,000, sorry. And it was a success. And I would like to remind the people that didn't migrate yet on the new Verium Vault that they have too, because right now we have a small fork. People didn't move. Everybody didn't move yet on the new wallet, and so they are still mining, but for nothing because it has no value. So if you are not in 1.3 point something, please upgrade your wallet.
Just to give a clue, currently on the Explorer, we can see that we have 80 more or less Verium on the latest version, still 40 on 1.2 and 20 on 1.3.1. So we have more or less already 100 wallets seen on the last 24 hours that are in the good version, and only 40 that are on the old version. So it's already a good path, as we have a lot of persons migrating. And we still see on the Explorer, you can go on the orphan page and you can see the sidechain. On the beginning, it was going really fast as they got a lot of blocks, as a lot of miners still didn't migrate, solo miners. But currently, I checked and it's really going really slow. So I think we have maybe 1 or 5 solo miners still mining there. So it's not a big deal. What will happen is that, and we already saw it on the Explorer, some transactions got paid with the old fee, so they lost money in a way because it was the old fee. For the miners, it was good because it's more paying, but yeah.
Yeah, because now the fee at 0.01. Yeah, so which is kind of better for the miner and for everybody actually.
All right. I know we covered all the topics I think that we had on our list. We're 50 minutes in. I think we should try to keep these under an hour. So I don't know if anyone has any.
There is one last subject, Vericoin wallet.
Okay.
So quick update, guys. We are still working on it. We are moving forward a bit slower than I expect. I was sick for a bit of time, so it slowed me down for sure. But we are progressing. We are still working on the consensus integration, which is actually the hardest part, I think. From the moment we finish that part, it will be like just work on the user interface, which is nearly done because we did it on Verium. So it will be really quick. But yeah, we are still working and we are still moving fast on it. As I say, a bit slower than I expect. But yeah, we are fast.
All right. Anything else, Doug? Do you have anything? Just anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I can't think of it.
We still have some questions, right? From the community.
I haven't seen any questions in the live chat on YouTube, but someone may, and I don't see any on Slack, but I know you created a forum, Ross. I don't know if anyone's submitted questions.
There is some. So there is Makis Christou. Sorry if I don't say the name correctly. So for Doug, is there any time frame for the binary chain paper? So we already answered to that. We have
yeah, I mean, I think I'm hoping to get the draft into the channel this week, and then it'll depend on how many people are involved and how much we think needs to be done. But I would like, let's see, what are we, November? I mean, it would be nice to have by the end of the month a near sort of final version, I think, that we are just kind of polishing. That would be a nice target. I don't know. That should be doable. I mean, it should be doable.
I mean, and in terms, could that possibly line up well with the timing of the Vericoin wallet being ready as well? Or I don't want to put. I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, I can't remember. We at one point decided what we thought the best order was, like just in terms of kind of communication and this kind of stuff. I can't remember what that order was now, actually.
But well, no worries. We don't need to. I don't. I mean, even if we tried to plan it perfectly, and things will get done when they get done, and
I think
you
well, what we will mention in the paper is that because in describing the paper, the binary chain, we're going to describe the Bitcoin Core versions of both. So the paper will cover the final version of the Vericoin protocol, and wallet code base, mostly as it relates to what was done with Varium, if it's not fleshed out by that, but at the same time. But so the paper will refer to the core version, and in that version will be the version that we do all the binary chain stuff on, because it doesn't make sense to do binary chain development on a code base that we're no longer using. But I would like to have the binary chain paper out before we actually do the binary chain release, because then we can kind of build up some communication and sort of community momentum as we start doing the binary chain release and stuff. So when the Vericoin wallet drops, I don't think is that pertinent, but definitely we need the Vericoin wallet to drop before we start actually implementing the binary chain stuff. We can start coding it up and whatnot, but we wouldn't actually implement it until after the Vericoin wallet release. So I think in terms of timelines, paper, when Vericoin wallet's ready, it comes, then binary chain development.
Okay. All right, cool. I guess we will see you all. I don't know. Again, it was 2 months that we did the last one. I'd like to try to do these once a month if possible. But
yeah,
until next time, go ahead.
The last few weeks was kind of a big rush between releasing the wallet, following the VIP.
Yeah.
As I say, I got sick. I got the COVID, so it didn't help. For sure, but and at work it was like hell. But I think trying to do that at least every month could be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
We still have 2 questions.
Okay.
So there is one from Jeff that asks, will there be the possibility of wrapping VRM and VRC on Ethereum to get access to the Uniswap? Now we need a new exchange after Bittrex delisted VRM. Uniswap has the best liquidity.
I think it would be cool if someone looked into that in the community and tried to figure out what it would entail. I think it's an interesting option. I don't know too many details of exactly how Uniswap works. I presume it's basically like an Ethereum token that represents a coin. And it's kind of silly, but at the same time, decentralized exchange is a really important thing that we want to be a part of. Definitely internally with our own project, like I've said before, like on the binary chain, but it would also be cool if we were part of a large crypto general decentralized exchange. So I think it would be neat if someone really kind of dug into it and figured out what it would entail, and if it makes sense, or if it just sort of dilutes the value of the coins because we're making a token of the coin and this kind of thing, whether it all makes sense. But I think it's interesting, and I think any movement in decentralized exchange that has volume and is usable is really good for crypto. There'll probably be numerous iterations of these things. Like Uniswap might not exist 6 months from now, for instance. But at the same time, I think we should keep abreast of it. And then I think we also will kind of build our own Vereconomy version of decentralized exchanging. But the whole token thing is interesting, but it's for us, it doesn't make a lot of sense because we don't need to create a token. We have coins. So a lot of times tokens are made because they want to somehow denominate some fund, basically. That's not necessary for us, but it doesn't mean that it wouldn't potentially make sense for us for decentralized exchange and other things.
In terms of, I think on that end of things, though, it's more about you go where you get exposure. And right now,
Kind of
you
thing.
know, there's a lot, and so, and especially if, you know, let's assume the binary chain white paper comes out, it does build interest. We want to make sure that those that read the white paper are interested in the project have an easy on ramp to get in, like beyond, you know, you need it. If we're limited on where the coin is or where Varium and Vericoin are available,
Mhm.
that's not good. So I think if the more channels or the more opportunity we have for people to be able to get involved with the project, the better. And if you get that exposure in some of these other decentralized exchanges that have a lot of volume right now, that may not hurt. So I think from that angle, it's worth considering just on that alone.
Yeah, and actually, there was a little bit of discussion about it at one point, and I think one of the things that maybe would make the most sense is not creating a Vericoin and Varium token, but possibly creating a Vericonomy token, which would almost act like a stock for the project. I think is maybe the best. I mean, at this point, I think it could be thought about much more, but we could potentially make a stock token, digital stock token of the project, and it could be like we had talked about it being VRY, and then when we build our Vericonomy decentralized exchange, it's possible that we might be able to also enable a VRY token trade between Varium and Vericoin as well. So there might be some way for us to kind of connect in with a token and then bring the token into the project as well.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting. That would be worth talking about, I think.
Yeah, I think it's worth
more.
talking and thinking about. Yeah.
Okay.
It will have some constraints of infrastructure, as it will have some requirements in development requirements. So this is a good idea, of course, and I fully agree that's interesting. And as you said, Uniswap is really good at the moment and having a lot of volume, but we don't know tomorrow because, as we already talked a lot on the chat, DeFi tokens are in a bubble. They're in a bubble, so it's hard to say what will survive after the bubble. So indeed, we will work on it, but it will be later and maybe with more manpower because currently it will be delaying everything if we start to work on this kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and there probably is going to be in the next bull market, the Ethereum chain is probably going to almost come to a screeching halt, I would say, because it's probably going to be overused, maybe mostly for decentralized exchanging like this. Like the CryptoKitties thing that happened in 2017, which was a stupid thing, but like it actually like almost brought the chain to its capacity needs. So that's another thing to factor in with all the DeFi token stuff is the Ethereum chain is not really set up to handle a bull market with trades. So, but I'm sure they're working on optimizing it as well. So, yeah, I think it should be. I think we should look into it and figure out if it makes sense. If there's anyone in the community that's kind of in the that's more familiar with Uniswap, maybe they can shed some insight in the chats about it.
Okay.
We have a last question from Maki this is the following. What are the trade-offs in your opinion with reducing fee on VRM? Do you regret setting it high in the first place? Is there a plan to change it back up afterward? If so, under what condition is that suitable in your opinion?
I think this is for me.
Yeah, We can all talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could all talk about it. So my opinion is that so one of the reasons we made the fee exorbitant in the beginning was because we weren't sure what was going to happen to the value of Varium. We weren't sure if the value of Varium was going to be more than the value of Veracoin or not. And we didn't want one coin in particular to cannibalize the other, because we were doing this unprecedented thing of making a paired currency reserve system, and we didn't want everyone to just dump Veracoin and get Varium and move on, or vice versa for some reason. So we wanted to differentiate them in the way that we think makes the most sense, which is Veracoin as a currency and Varium as a reserve, or more of like a store of value, like the way that the Bitcoin market kind of naturally partitioned, sort of, and so part of it was just, you know, like a hedge against cannibalization. Another part of it was it's a mining coin, so if the fees are high, and all the fees go to the miners anyway, you know, it's another way of distributing the currency in a release phase that we were in, as well. Like, not only is, you know, large pools or large miners getting coins, but then when they move them, they're actually distributing those coins to smaller miners as well in terms of large fees. So I also helped to sort of distribute the currency in the initial release phase that we were in up until a few months ago. And now it's to the point where, you know, we always had this scheduled drop in the reward to match the supply parity with Veracoin, and it's just not practical to have that kind of fee, nor do we have any real fears about cannibalization of the coins between each other, nor do we have a supply release dynamic occurring either. So I don't really have any regrets about it. I think it makes sense. In retrospect, I probably would have pre-scheduled the fee decrease, but I wasn't sure if we should do that at the time, and I didn't really think through it enough. But MDROS implemented it, and it was smooth and works out well. And I think the cons are potentially that the miners are going to earn less revenue from fees. However, if there's more transactions, that could be at least partially offset. In theory, it could be completely offset with more transactions. So in the end, I think it's a good move. I don't really have any regrets about it. I think that where we are is a good place.
Personally, I fully agree, and I will add something that as Varium is a reserve, well, back in that time, as the reward was near 10, 8, and 4 during the last moment, I think this fee does make sense, because as it's a reserve, it needs to cost to move. It's like gold. Gold is not free to move. You need to have security. You need to have maybe a special flight and stuff. So it doesn't make sense when it was like that, and when the inflation was at that level and the reward was high. Now that the reward, we got this halving, of course the reward was really low, and we are near 0.8. So it was really high for miners. And in my point of view, for the moment, Varium is not really interesting to mine because the price, but the price is related with how miners should calculate the cost. Because, for example, and it's something that happened on all the coins, and we can see it on Bitcoin too. When the halving of Bitcoin occurred, it took 5 months last time to make the price react at the real cost of the mining. And this is really something that I want the miners to understand. It's, you should sell only at a price that is above your expense. It doesn't make sense to sell something below your expense. And the idea is to make some profit. So, of course, the price of Varium will be low if miners are selling it below the cost that they got for it. So this is something that will take time, because a lot of miners are selling because it was before the halving, so it was still they still got profit from it. But the new miners, of course, they will need to wait a bit from these old miners to sell everything or keep everything. It will be the smart move, in fact, to have the price changing and be higher because it needs to reflect the cost. And for the moment, it's not really reflecting the cost. It's still giving some profit, a small profit, but changing the fee helped a lot for the miners to still have some profit of Ethereum currently. And it's why we dropped a bit on the hash rate, but it will go up again and people will start to mine again when the price will change. And the price changing will depend a lot on how miners sell it to the market and which price. And this is really something that I think it's linked with the fee. And I don't think that it will make sense in the future to change the fee higher because we don't need it at the moment. And even in the future, as on Ethereum, it's the fee is related with the size of the transaction. As all the rewards are really low, the transaction size will be higher. So in fact, the fee will go up anyway. So we compensate in another way, in fact. So I think we are good now, and maybe in the future it can change and we can change our mind, and maybe with the agreement of all the community, we'll change the fee to something maybe higher. But for the moment, it makes sense.
Well, we've seen already, I mean, again, you can't assume history repeats itself, but when you have something with such low supply, it doesn't take much for Varium's value to increase in relative short time. So to your point, if I'm a miner, you shouldn't necessarily be looking at this as something to, I mean, yes, you have your expenses and everything like that, but you should be mining Varium for a bigger long-term time frame, I think, where let that supply aspect kind of work in your favor. I mean, I mean, again, I'm not trying to tell people it's going to go back up to who knows? We don't know. But because of the fact it's got a low supply, the value can escalate very fast. And we've seen it happen in the past multiple times already. So, and I think Varium Fellow posts on the Slack channel quite often a chart that, yeah, maybe it's wishful thinking, but there's some validity to it, and from a mathematical standpoint, in terms of the projected value of Varium and where it can go based on the supply. So, it's such a small supply that the value changes relatively quick.
Yeah, and unlike Bitcoin, we don't have a point where the reward goes to zero. It's low, but it's not going to zero. It's slowly shrinking because it's relative to it never changes, the fee structure. It's proportional to the block time, but that formula doesn't change. So as there's a greater supply, the reward will be proportionally smaller. And Varium Fellow did make a plot of that, which was pretty cool, out to like 2,500 BC, I guess, or AD. So on the one hand, we have we don't need the fees to completely accommodate for the reward, but we have a low reward. So in that way, I think it's a good balance.
Okay. I say we wrap this one up.
Yep.
And I appreciate everyone who joined and listened. And if you are watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and share this video. Share it on Twitter, share it on Reddit, and we're looking forward to new people joining the project, wanting to get involved. There's a lot of things that you can help with, and until next time, we'll see you later.
Yep. Thank you, guys, and stay safe, take care, and see you in a month.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.